Welcome back, everyone. We are here for another Mondays with Micah. I am so excited, and this man has been on my list for months, and I have been waiting for the right time to pursue. Don Spengeman, I know a lot of you know who this is. He has been an educator for how long?
43 years.
43 years.
In Franklin.
And we're going to get into that. So he has raised most of your children, or raised the teachers. Which one was it?
Both. Generations.
So this is a really special conversation. I just mentioned to him that this is coming out the week of Thanksgiving. So we are now in the holiday time of year. It is, that can be tough for the ones that are adjusting to the transitions in their life of losing a loved one. And I believe in Don's situation, the love of his life.
Yeah.
Okay, so I wish I could say everyone who lost their spouse could say that, but they don't.
It's true.
So I'm just speaking it here today that Don actually did marry the love of his life. And I have had some other widowers recently tell me, as I've checked on some of them, that I did not expect to go here early on. So I'm just going to kind of do a little education here for those watching. So I was talking to a gentleman, I won't give a name, and he said, you know, one of the main questions I get is, when am I going to start dating again? And his sentiment was that he feels pretty offended by it. And I can understand that sentiment. For some, they're open to new beginnings. I am thankful that I've gotten to sing at a widower's wedding, and it was a very special event, and I call them resurrection stories, and we've had some of those on. But he basically told me that I married the love of my life, and there is no better. She was the best for him, and he feels in his heart he's still in love with his wife, and he is not planning on pursuing a future with anyone else. This man, I think is in his 50s. So some would say, hey, you got a lot of life left to give. So if love does knock on his door, then so be it. But at this present time, he is still passionately in love with his wife. And it was a good thing to hear a man not moving on quickly. So I don't know how you feel about that statement and what you can share with people. When you've been, how long were you married?
We met when we were 18 and we were married 52 years.
I haven't even turned 52 yet. So that's a long time, folks. Yeah. That is not a number that a lot of my generation is hitting.
Right.
Can you tell me how you met?
We went to William and Mary, and she was from the mountains of Virginia. I was from New Jersey, and I think we met the fall, first semester.
Awesome.
And I saw her first in a church at Bruton Parish. It was Student Sunday, and all the students that were there sat in the governor's box. I had gone with a friend. I was Methodist, but I had gone with a friend that was Episcopalian. She had gone with a friend. She was Methodist. And I saw her in the box, and I thought she was attractive and very cute. And that right after that, went to lunch at the cafeteria, and I asked somebody, I saw her in line, and I said, do you know who that girl is? Is she in your classes? And they said no, but I picked the wrong guy. Well, actually the right guy, because he made a scene and said, Spengeman, that girl there, is that the one you want to meet? And I called her that evening to apologize for his behavior. I asked her out that weekend, the next weekend, and that was it. The
rest was history.
Yeah.
What was she going to school for?
She was going to become a Latin teacher.
A Latin teacher. Okay, so language. And you were in for...
I was in for pre-med, but changed to education my senior year.
And what drew you to change?
I had said when I was a little kid I wanted to be a doctor, and it kind of snowballed. I really didn't enjoy science that much. I wanted, if I had become a doctor, I wanted to be a family doctor, kind of like Mike Ponder,
Yes.
is that very personal, go to people's. That's not quite how it's done anymore. And my senior year, some fraternity brothers convinced me to take a course with a Dr. Lavish. It was an intro to education that a lot of non-education majors took because he was so good. He was a psychologist, and he got me hooked. And the next second semester, during that semester, they started a program. They were going to start that summer a master's program in teaching special education.
Wow.
I read the article. It sounded like just the right fit. It was a huge lecture hall, but I talked to him more than I had to any other professor.
Wow.
I really enjoyed him. And I asked him about the article in the newspaper, college newspaper, and he said, "Oh, I know Dr. Mills," and he took me right down to her office.
Wow.
I applied, I took the testing, and I got a scholarship to start that summer.
Wow.
So
that sounds like fate, y'all. That sounds like there was a divine intervention, as some of us would call, where it's not just happenstance, y'all. It does feel like that found you more than you found it.
yeah.
But you had to be in the right place.
Right.
So you made that right decision. And not only did he make the right decision with the college, but he met his wife there and his future career.
Right.
Wouldn't we all love to say that out of our college experience?
We were very lucky.
Yes, so that's a special story. I'm sure you go back to Williamsburg often.
Yeah, in fact, I was there I hadn't gone to any class reunions or homecomings since Sandy passed away, but this year some couples that we used to meet there convinced me to come, and I just went for the day, but I also got to see there my son Justin, who also, all the kids went to William & Mary, and his freshman year roommates, he's been out of school for quite a while, after Sandy passed away, they gave us a brick at the alumni house.
Awesome.
With I think it said Sandy and Don sweethearts since 1965 or something.
And you got to go see that too.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's cool. I've seen those around, but you never know what the story is or how someone gets one. I don't, at least there. Okay, so once you graduated.
Well, we were engaged senior year.
Okay.
Sandy took a job in Windsor, teaching Latin, and I had to be within 90 minutes of the college because I was an intern special ed teacher, and a professor would come, the Dr. Mills I had mentioned, and I looked for the place with an opening that was closest to where she was, and so Sandy got me into Franklin. We were going to both finish our master's degrees in 2 years, and then we were going to decide where we wanted to live. In Franklin, we fell in love with Franklin, joined the church here, and
haven't left.
Yeah.
Okay, so once you got here, you went straight into Franklin City Schools?
Yes.
And you started in special education?
Right.
How long were you in that before it evolved into administration?
I was the first teacher in upper elementary on Clay Street to teach special ed, and then I was there about 4 years. I think it was 4. It's been a while, and they wanted to start the program at the high school, so they moved me to the high school to start the program there. And I was there for, I think, a total of 9 years in the classroom. And then superintendent, they were letting me teach and coordinate the program part-time. There's one other teacher, and we needed to contract with school psychologists and speech therapists, and we were growing and growing. And so they asked me to coordinate the program. So I did that part-time at the high school, taught most of the day, and did that a little bit, and then did that at night. And eventually, I really liked that because I loved being in the classroom. And then one day they called me in the office and said I needed to decide to go full-time administrator or
full-time
teacher. And we had started our family, and Sandy was staying home with the kids. She stayed home 11 years, and I honestly needed to work 12 months. And
Yeah.
it's a small school system, so I still got to be in the schools.
Awesome. And I have only heard good things. I'm the same age as your daughter, I think, Sarah. And we grew up together, some in the Methodist church at different times in the youth group. I went to different youth groups. I had my own with the Rock Church, but, you know, as you're dating in high school, then you kind of follow the boy different places, and we had so much fun. And I don't get to hear from many of them, but they do comment on Facebook. We're Facebook friends, you know, on some of these things. So it is interesting remembering back when and the fun that they were. So I know you have other children, but that's the only one I remember.
We had 2 sons, Jeremy and Justin, then Sarah, and then Susan.
Okay. And maybe they were there, but because we weren't really the same age.
Right. I led the youth group for several years. So all the kids, whoever they were dating, we sometimes had up to 35, to 40 kids, and a lot of them weren't Methodist, but we wanted a place for youth to go.
And this was in the building to the left on North High Street or South High?
It's where Cooperative Ministries is now.
That's where I remember going. Yeah. So we played volleyball and a lot of other things that we did, but those were all really good times. I mean, that's all I can say. So I'm thankful for that those teenage years were not, I have great memories from my teenage years. Yeah. And so as we tell people, as a realtor, people ask about Franklin, you know, sometimes we get a bad rap in the news, to be honest, and people ask me when they're thinking about moving here, is it a good place? I said, it's the best place you can ever raise your children. I still believe that here today. And there's many of us that have remained. There's some of us who left and came back with a trade and are turning things up here in the city of Franklin. Or I would say reimagining things that their parents did and taking it to the next level in the 21st century. And that has been so fun to see that with many of us. So our generation is a little bit more marketing driven or entrepreneur. Does that make sense? Yeah. Now your daughter is a nurse.
Yes. She's an RN.
Okay, I remembered that. And she has how many children? 2. Okay. What about your son?
My oldest son has 2 children. My second son is single. Sarah is married and has 2 children, and our 4th child, our daughter, is a single teacher in Percival, Northern Virginia.
Okay. So you do have some educators that.
Yeah, she was the 4th child, and she followed Sam Yumi in our career.
Well, my mother was an educator. She moved here in 1973, and actually she was at Franklin. Shelley Futrell.
Oh. Okay.
If you remember, so that's my mom. So she may have worked with you back then.
No, I was. 73.
No, she was young. She was in elementary. I don't know what. Wish I could tell you more. So anyway, then she met my dad in 1975. So this year they just had their 50th. Yeah. And so she married a farmer and moved out to the country. And that's where we all started. So I tell people I've branched out because I moved from Branchville. It's a personal joke, but anyway, okay, so you were together and you have lived a full life here in the city of Franklin.
Right.
You know, there's a lot of opinions about raising a family here, and I have heard some sentiments really from your peer group, I would say, that had told their children not to move back here and to find work and different things other places. What can you share about living in Franklin? Because part of my heart is there's something simple about Franklin where we're living in a world that isn't that simple anymore.
Right.
And was there anything that you didn't get to do living here that you felt like you would have gotten to do somewhere else? or did you
You
live?
mean as an adult or
Yes,
raising
as an
kids?
adult, both. As an adult, like you lived. I guess what I'm trying to say is I think sometimes as people get older, they regret certain decisions, and some had success the whole time.
Yeah. I have no regrets. We loved living here. It was a great place to raise your kids. You knew who their friends were. There's a lot of things in Franklin. There's a lot of wonderful churches that if you wish to raise your child in the church, I think every single church I know of here is very family oriented, very caring. I know for our family, our church has always been with us in our joys in our life, but also at the most challenging, worst times of our life.
Excellent.
And the support we were given, particularly when my wife was ill and when our daughter had lost a baby at birth, you couldn't ask for more. My relatives, my in-laws, Sandy's siblings, and my brother could not believe the support we got in this town.
Wow.
From the time Sandy was ill enough that she couldn't do much until she passed away, I never had to worry about a meal. I didn't have to worry about anything like that. People were surrounded us, and I wasn't surprised because we were part of that group for other people. And you know, it's small town USA where people really care about each other. There are problems here, but people kind of work together for them, and you have a crisis and the whole place unifies. Like the flood.
Yes,
like,
you can't drown a great town. It was literally in my head as
right,
you're saying that.
Right. And the scouting programs here are strong.
It's good.
Community concert series, the YMCA, the rec center, the library.
That's right.
Just
there's the music and arts program
at the Rawls Museum.
Yes, and what is the concerts?
The Franklin Baptist Church community concerts. There's
tons of art.
Yeah, there's a lot here.
Yes.
And what isn't here, like the malls maybe, or that kind of shopping. We've got great small town shopping.
Yes, we do.
But you're within an hour of anything else you need.
That's right.
But you don't have to live with that traffic all the time.
Exactly.
And we don't really have a lot of traffic jams here.
No, we don't.
Also here, like our some things I don't belong in, but I have a lot of respect for. The fire and rescue here is amazing.
You're right.
I know when we needed the rescue squad at our home, they were there and they was professional and caring, but it was like very personal.
Yes.
The police department here, I think does a great job. This town, one of the things that doesn't get talked about, the maintenance department for the city, how they pick up trash, keep the flower beds clean. I mean, it's a wonderful place to live, and it's a type of place. If you're looking for somebody, all you have to do, any street in town, you could pull over very safely and say, "Do you know where so and so lives?" or "Do you know how to get to the hospital?" or something. So it's got a lot of great things.
I mean, this needs to be sent to the chamber just as a pitch for the city, because he said it so well, and that's what a good educator can do, is communicate his thoughts clearly. I have said that also as part of my real estate pitch, that this town is so clean, and we have no property owners associations telling us to do it. So this is all pride of ownership. Why we do what we do. The how our yards look and all of that, no one is forcing us. We're not paying a fee for that. We're not charged for someone else to do it for us. We do it because we love to do it. We actually care about our home. Maybe that's a good way of saying it. And one thing you haven't heard me say this, anyway, I've shown property from here to Williamsburg over 21 years now. My whole adult career has been selling houses and previewing houses and getting people here. And I enjoy selling Franklin city limit homes more than anywhere else, because it is pretty much a custom built community.
Mm-hmm.
There are some subdivisions in the last 20 years or 30 maybe, since the 90s, I guess, is when the subdivisions started to come around here. But we're at my home, I'm the second owner. That's almost unheard of in this day and times. I've heard a statistic that most families move 7 to 8 times in their lifetime. And I have really only skipped over town, so I've been a resident since 2004 here. So 21 years.
You're right.
And there's just peace, y'all. It's peaceful. And it still is. And I just feel like it needs to be said in this 2025 year, when the news reports are not very peaceful. There is some major crises going on in a lot of different ways, but I love what you said about the United Methodist Church. I am a proponent for anyone to go to whatever church you choose to go, just go, okay? There is something about community that comes together, and you do not, when you choose local and you give back, when crisis finds you, people find you too.
Right.
Our acts of service, and there's a ministry of helps, they call it in the scripture. That's one of the gifts, is the ministry of helps. And I believe the church does a great job of rallying people together and getting teams. And like you're saying, whether they're the ones, I talked to another widow, and she's a homebound. And she said, I am so thankful that I have people checking on me as a homebound, driving her to church, getting her where she needs to be. And that was because she continues to be committed to a bigger thing than herself. And the funerals that I have been to at the United Methodist Church are top notch, y'all. Top tier. They know how to comfort. They know how to bring a crowd. It is packed. And what does that mean? That your wife's life, these people mattered. And the service that they gave here in this community got people's attention, and the love that she gave was felt. So I love all of that. Now, do you want to share anything about what type of disease or what happened with your wife?
Right. It was in 2021 when we everything was fine, and then we found out our daughter was pregnant, and she was ecstatic with her third child. And I think about the 4th month, she found out that the baby had trisomy 18 and would not survive. And so as a family, we were very strong together, and Madeline, she'd already been named Madeline, and we cherished her while she was being carried.
Wow.
As if she was, we were making those moments
count,
our life,
yeah,
with her. And it was not long after that diagnosis that Sandy became ill, and she was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer.
Okay.
And at first it was very, very hopeful. It was early, but then she got pancreatitis.
Okay.
And that delayed her getting treatments. And so the prognosis became worse. Anyhow, how it ties together is Sandy and I were trying to be there together for our daughter and her husband and the 2 grandchildren, and facing what we were facing at home. And our family is very strong, very supportive, and I've told my children after their mother passed away, I said, you never have to do another thing for me. What you did for your mother, they just put everything aside. When it got to the point that I wasn't able to take care of her by myself,
right?
One member of the family, or her siblings, or my brother, they were there. We're a very close family.
Awesome.
And what I admired about my wife was she cared more about what was happening for my daughter.
Yes. It's beautiful.
And we looked for all the blessings we could get.
Yes.
One of the blessings was my wife, when I was taking her for treatment, she'd say, Don, some of these people here don't want to have what we have. They
Yes.
they don't have somebody to drive them for treatment. They don't have somebody sitting there with them. They have to worry about their mortgage being paid. They have to worry about food. We didn't have any of those worries. We were both retired. We were pretty comfortable with our retirements, and we weren't wealthy, but we had managed very well in our life.
Awesome.
And we looked for every blessing we could get, and that was one of them that we didn't have. Our struggle was difficult, but it was not. Some people had it a lot worse, and we should be grateful for what we had. We were grateful for all the time we had, and even look back at COVID when everybody was healthy. But some people say, "Oh, we were locked in the house," and I look back at that and
treasure it.
God, it was the two of us, like it had been when we were first married.
Wow.
And so we enjoyed being together.
That's awesome.
And sometimes you think, you look back and you think, we had a lot of close friends and had things to do, but we mostly did everything together. My wife was not the type of woman. She was great for shopping. If she went to shop, she had like one or two things, and that's what she looked for. And then we'd go to dinner or lunch and go to a movie. But she wanted to go together. She wasn't nothing against women that go on shopping days with their friends or something and spend the whole day. She was not that kind of be in a store
hours at a time.
Not. But there were many blessings. One of them was when they decided my daughter would be induced, so they would have a chance of holding their baby alive, because she was not going to last
long
longer
after, right.
In the womb. So, and Sandy was in the hospital when they were planning this, and they actually, of course, Sarah and Ed wanted us to be with them and the kids, and the doctors worked so hard to get Sandy out in time, and we did get out the night before, so we were able to be at the hospital the next day.
Wow.
That was a blessing.
Yes.
Even though it was a very sad time.
Yes.
And then the same thing happened when they were going to have the funeral. They postponed the timing, and I finally said to Sarah, you just need to, it looks like we won't be there. We'll be in the hospital. And Sandy got out.
Wow.
That night before, and she had to go back the next night after the funeral, but we got to be there as a family. And that it was all very sad, but it was a blessing, because and that's how we got through the loss of our grandchild and Sandy, because
now how long did she live after that?
6 months.
Okay.
But for most, she really rallied at different times, and another blessing we had is, when a person is taking chemo and they're ill, you have, days that are very difficult or slow, but we would kind of joke, because on the days of chemo, we'd go in, and before she left, they would give her like, not cortisone, but something, a steroid.
Yeah.
And we always joked that when we left Obacy, we had to first go to Chick-fil-A, because she would be ravenous, and it was hard. She made herself eat other times, but on that day, we didn't wait till we got home. She started eating that car, and it was, it was a blessing.
Yes.
And during her illness also, we would try to conserve her strength, so that when the kids were coming or grandkids, she wanted to be at her best, and we had a lot of good days. She died in March, but our last Christmas she really rallied for, and we had a great Christmas. So my philosophy and my wife's philosophy is, how well you do in life is a lot of times a choice. And yeah, you don't choose illness and you
Right.
don't choose this or that. But you do choose if you're going to wake up and try to be as happy as you can that day and be grateful for what you got. And that's what we did.
Well, I think that's a beautiful sentiment. And, you know, when he was talking, I was just like, you know, again, a statement that not every couple says is that you were each other's best friend.
Yeah.
And so I can feel moved by that, because that's a gift, you know, to have had that many years together and still can say that. Can still say that, because for whatever reason in this world, there's a lot of couples that change interest or evolve is the term I may use, and then they grow their kids, and somehow they don't know each other after their kids move out. And some don't remain. And I really think there's a blessing that they receive. You've received the fruits of your faithfulness to be able to say what you have said. So, and these emotions that come, I tell people, I said this at the Rotary. I said, look, deep emotion means that you deeply loved. If you're grieving deeply, that's because you loved deeply. So it is the tension of the two. Wouldn't you rather have had 50, did you say 2 years?
52.
52 years of deep love? Yes, he's in that, but he's not going to have 52 years of deep grief, okay? So you got more good years than you're going to have of any sad years. And now he has his children and grandchildren to continue to see and do things with. And I know people have checked on you.
Oh, yeah. I've been very lucky.
So, what can you say about grief on this side of it that you didn't maybe understand before, even though you would comfort those who had lost? You've been to funerals for however many years. What's the difference?
What's the difference in
between being there for others and walking through it yourself?
Well, when you walk through it yourself, I mean, the loss is, it's your loss.
Yes.
I think it gives you more understanding for people that go through it after you have. You understand more and you learn a lot. I decided after I lost Sandy that I had well, it was my father. When my mother died, my father's main desire in life was to join her. I mean, he would never have committed suicide or anything, because his faith wouldn't have, he wouldn't have done that. He wouldn't have done that to my brother and me and our wives and children. But he was never completely happy. He was happy when we were with him, but it didn't sustain him. But his situation was a little different. As I've discussed with my brother, my father was hard of hearing. My mother was his ears, actually. He had hearing aids, but he still, my mother was, they were a couple like Sandy and I were, like, if they were in a social situation, she could tell by looking at my father's face, he didn't understand what the conversation. She'd go, now, Bud, Sally was saying they're going to Italy next fall. Then he would catch on to what was going on. So he was more isolated that way, and he wasn't in as good health as I was. That was when my wife passed away. So you have to look at everybody's situation, but I decided I would not be like that, because my dad feeling that way made my brother and me feel like we weren't enough. You know, and I never wanted my children to feel that way. And I don't resent my father. I loved him dearly. It was just him. That was his way of dealing with it. So everybody deals with grief in a different way. But what I've learned is I've been able to help a few of our friends with losing a parent or a spouse. And I feel like I understand more about how impactful it can be, and also how everybody's different. So you can't help them by giving them a recipe of how to move forward. But for me, it was, I'm going to be as happy as I can be. I'll never be as happy as I once was. I know that. And so the bar is set a little, but when I'm with my children and my grandchildren and friends, I can truly forget what I've lost, and if I'm laughing or kidding or whatever, it's genuine. It's not fake.
That's good.
But there are times that I do put on a face like I'm a
Better
little
than
happy,
you are.
or but it's different for everybody.
I agree with you.
And I just decided I was going to be happy. You asked before, you were mentioning about people, what they see in their future, and I'll be very honest about, and I've told friends, I still wear my wedding band, and I have my brother still wears his. He lost his wife. My dad wore his until it was too loose, and then he wore it on a chain. I am still married in my mind. I'm not interested in ever trying to duplicate what I had, because I don't think nobody would love me like my wife loved me, and I'll never love anybody like I love her. She kidded me. She had, before she died, 9 years before, she had a very serious illness that they said she would not even make it to the hospital in the
ambulance.
No, the helicopter.
The Nightingale.
Nightingale. They told me we weren't going to make it.
Wow.
And that sounds curt, but it was done to let me understand how serious it was.
Right, and yet that's not the story. How the story went.
No, it was a miracle. It really was a miracle. But she said to me after that, she didn't remember a lot of it, but I stayed with her in the hospital 19 days. We came home. They tried to get me to have her go to a convalescent place, and I said, no, you don't know my wife like I do. She'll do better with me. And they had me demonstrate how I could help her walk and move her on my own and all. So we came home, and the kids would tell her after she was much, much better, because it was months before she was functioning completely. And she did recover, I'd say at least 95% or more. But they would tell her, and she said, well, was it that bad? Mom, it was really difficult. It was really difficult. And later she said to me, you know, Don, I know that if something like that happened to you, I would do everything I could, like you did for me. I would do as much as I physically could. But if something ever happened to you, I would never remarry. And I said, well, were you not happy? and she said, no. She said, you and I have history. We were together all those years from the time we were still teens, 18. And she said, it was funny. She said, I would take care of you because you're my old man, but I'm not taking care of somebody else's old man. She said, I don't know if I could do it. And personally, I'm kind of like, I don't want another relationship like that. I don't want to hurt like that again.
Totally.
And I also don't know if I would have the strength, the health to take care of somebody like you want to take care of somebody you love dearly. I would have had to have help much earlier than I only had hospice for a week. And I took care of her, and I wanted to.
Yes.
I didn't want anybody else to.
And that is this is where we get to honor. There's something so sacred, y'all. And I'm seeing that more and more, and I feel the sentiment when he's talking about you don't want to hurt like that again. And I have to tell you, every grandparent losing my father-in-law this year, it rips the wound back open. The ones that you deeply love. And I have said it to myself, I can't keep doing this. Like, I told another widow, I'm like, can I just go somewhere else? And they're like, people are going to die wherever you go, Micah. Like, you can't run from death. And that's not exactly the sentiment. But when it feels intense, like, This too shall pass. That's really the reality. But I have a couple more questions to finish this up. One, because you kind of brought this up in the beginnings of how you met, what has your faith, how you can give your salvation story if you want, but in last week's episode, Granny Joe was the name, Joanne Grizzard, I got to talk with from Druryville, and I said there's something that's different when people of faith walk through loss. There's a difference. I don't know what you can speak into that.
Well, I don't know how people that don't have faith, and I'm not preaching any kind of faith, because almost all religions have some thoughts about later in life or your afterlife or whatever. But for me, my faith is, I don't think personally that God orchestrates any of it. What God for me does for me in a time of crisis or a time of joy, either one, I'm never alone.
Awesome.
I feel like my faith helps me to deal with challenges and bad times, but I like some people say, my daughter said this best when she was carrying her child that she knew would not live, and they told my wife and I, they told her parents, they told their siblings in person, but when it got time to the aunts and uncles and cousins, Sarah and Ed decided what they wanted to do was send them emails or texts, a group family thing, explaining what was going on, so they didn't have to go through the whole story over and over. Yes. And she said, at first Ed and I kept saying, why us? Why did this happen to us?
Yeah.
But she said then, when they looked at their families and they looked at their homes and they looked at their two children and they looked at, they said, well, then I should say, why me, God? Why all these blessings? It was a bad and challenging time of life.
Yeah.
But they weren't alone. Even when Ed went back to work and Sarah was home, and she wasn't alone. She had her faith. She had God. Awesome. And so I don't blame God for anything. And when Sandy survived that first thing, which was a miracle, I didn't say God picked her, because personally, Sandy afterwards said to me, she says, I don't believe that either, because if somebody got picked, I would have wanted to have been, we had a close friends that lost a child. She said, I would have said, save the child.
Yes. Take me in behalf of them.
I would have done that for my grandchild.
Yes, totally.
But, that's not our choice.
No.
I'm sorry. I get more emotional.
About the baby.
Yeah. Because it was my baby who lost her baby.
lost her baby. Yes. My father, my mom, my dad cried. I have a handful of times I've seen my father cry, but when my husband passed, that was hard on my dad.
Yeah.
And still hard on him at times. And that's a deep love. This is a father's heart story here. And I hope y'all can read that I feel his tenderness, but I also feel the presence of the Lord, and that makes me smile. So my energy may be very different from his energy, and I just need the watchers to know, those viewing this here today, that I am not discounting his feelings. But when people speak honestly and are vulnerable about the reality of our humanity, y'all, we are not guaranteed anything. Our works aren't enough. Our pedigree is not enough. And you may not have heard this before, but after I became a widow, I got a Jesus Calling devotional, and it may have been a gift, but it really was the beginnings for me. I've been saved since I was 5 years old. And a lot of pastors would say, I heard the Lord say, I heard the Lord say. But I really didn't have that many stories of my own where I could say for myself, I heard the Lord say. So I would kind of think, well, maybe only the pastors get that, like I don't know. It took a pen in my hand to be the conduit. And so journaling was unlocked inside me after my husband passed. And so when you talk about never being alone, the Old Testament, if you read it, it said there's royal secretaries, there were scribes. And so I feel as a scribe, and that there is answers from above. And sometimes it does take these desperate moments, not that he's desperate right now, but where you're heartbroken about something, and I'm looking for answers. And it took a pen in my hand, and for 8 years now, it took 1.5 years after my husband passed for that tool, if we want to call it, to become a dialogue. Mm-hmm. In high school, I used to have a journal, and it was like, and I woke up today and I had breakfast, and it was so boring. I'm like, I can't do this. Like, this is horrible. I don't even want to read this. But now, and it's a lifeline, is what I'm telling you. And when you have people of faith, there's these God incident story things that happen in your day that may feel very normal to you because you've been walking with the Lord as long as you have. And these children that don't get to be on this side. And I wrote a song last year, another thing that has been unlocked, but I had a friend that was halfway into her pregnancy, lost the baby probably after 20 weeks. And she was in her late 30s, went again and had the baby full term. And they sent me a message to let me know. I was driving to an appointment, and I sent a voice memo, and I was just so excited. And sometimes I'm a verbal processor. Sometimes things come out and I'm like, whoa. And I basically prayed that this baby was touched by the Father before touched by you. And then 3 months later, I got to hold the baby. And they named her Nova, which is light. And when I held her, I went back to that memo, and this whole song came out after the fact. And it was just this glimpse. And I'm like, why am I bringing this up? I am sad, okay? It doesn't look like I'm very sad. I'm sad for any woman that had to carry as a mother. And last November, my brother and sister-in-law, they knew the gender. It was a little girl. She didn't feel the baby moving. She had to pass the babies. It was it wasn't still, it was gone.
Yeah.
And she had to deliver the baby. So that has happened in my personal family. And she has not tried to get pregnant again because it's
painful.
Yes. And there's a lot of anxiety to try to get pregnant again. And for 9 months, wondering if the baby will last. So there's a lot that women go through. And for caring parents, you feel that for us, and you can't take it from us. That's the part that's the hardest part.
Can't fix it.
You can't fix it, as the book I continue to, you can't go over it, you can't go under it, you've got to go through. Going on a bear hunt. You got to go through your life, okay? And that is tough when the going gets tough. But what I can say is grieving together makes everything better. And having people around. We've had a friend in ICU for a month now. They're not even 50. Complications from a back surgery. And we show up. These are not fun rooms to walk in. I'm not 65 walking in these rooms. I'm in my 40s. Walking with women who have walked through loss. Lost babies. Lost parents. Lost spouses. So, why now? Why are these things happening to me now? You know, it makes sense if you're in your 60s or 70s maybe, but
Right.
It's happening to us early. These are the mysteries of our humanity. But I'm, as you said, choosing to get up the next day and deciding that life is worth living, and I'm not going to take this breath for granted. And as I was journaling recently about this situation with a friend of ours, and I'm like, Lord, I need help. Like, what's going on? And I'm not saying I always get a clear answer, but what I did write down was, I'm the breath giver. These machines may be keeping some people alive to help them breathe. But for us to put all the weight that machine's doing the work is negating that the Father's involved. He's the breath giver. I'm not saying he's the breath taker, but he's the one keeping us alive. It is not our doing. And once you have sudden loss, which is what I had, I don't take for granted waking up the next day. And I think that there is meaning to the next day, and that he has me here for a reason for the next day. And so this year's mantra that came to me this August, because life keeps getting harder, I have to keep telling myself, if you want to have words of affirmation or whatever, a motto or whatever, I am capable, I'm ready and capable to handle anything that is ahead. So I want to encourage that with you here today. This holiday season, if you're walking through things with your kids, your grandkids, your own grief, holidays open up the wound because you have more memories of togetherness. So the reality that your spouse is not there is more pronounced in the holiday. Would you agree?
Yeah.
And yet we have to still sit with that reality and go through the holidays and try to be as present as we can. And thankfully, you know, Don is saying that he is able to be present. Yes, he may have his moments and he may not always show them to his children, the full reality, but he wants to show up as full as he can for his kids. And that is a good choice, because you don't want to say that once mommy passed, we never got daddy back.
That's 100% true. Yeah. And you were talking about the holidays. My kids want all the holidays still at our home on Clay Street.
Awesome.
Which is good. I put every decoration up we ever put up, because I know the grandkids are going to say, "Where's this? Where's that?"
Tradition.
And it takes a lot longer by yourself doing that.
For sure.
And we have everything at our house. I never cooked. I'm not, because I'm chauvinistic. I just never cooked. It doesn't interest me. Even now, I don't cook, and I'm alone. But so the kids make the meals. I'll go get the ingredients and all, but I make sure it's decorated and it's done. And I'm real good on the snacks and all that for the kids and all. But we do our holidays just about exactly as we always did it. Awesome. The same things, the things in her family, from Sandy's family, my family, the things we got together for holidays. We do it all, and I like it because it makes me feel like, and as I've told some friends that have said, why don't you move like to the village, or why don't you do this? I can't leave our home, because that house, our home, is the only home I'll ever have. I said if we moved, I wouldn't know where to put the sofa. I wouldn't know where Sandy, our
Set
home,
it up.
she made it. And if I moved from there, I wouldn't have that. And I find her things her family's things, my family, very comforting.
Mm.
And, you know, I want, you know, things that will go to my children,
Yep.
which they won't take now because they say we want them in
Where
the
they
house.
were. Yep.
You know, so just like everything else, your holidays, they can be sad.
Yeah.
But they're not sad for me while I'm living them. It's actually, Sandy and I always, when we were with our children or with her, whenever we went any place, I called it when we got in the car or whatever, or when everybody left, we debriefed it. Like,
Yes.
oh, wasn't that cute what Emma did? Wasn't this great with Preston, all the grandkids, you know? And I do miss that a lot. And sometimes when I'm driving home and I've been with them, I'm sad because Sandy
Yeah. Right.
didn't get to see it or hear it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And those are the bittersweet moments.
Yeah.
Because it kind of hits you on the back end. In the moment, you're able to kind of feel it.
Get lost in it.
Yes. And I still feel that now. My son went and got his learner's permit, and, you know, that's another rite of passage, if you want to call it. And then when he got, we did it on his lunch break anyway. We went back to school, and thankfully another song came out of it, which I was not expecting, but I sat down at the piano and this thought, one thing led to another. But it was, I have never been more glad, yet I have never been more sad. And
that captures it.
And because you didn't walk in, you know, and so these thoughts start popping in my head about this tension of I'm excited for my son, but then the reality hits that Daddy wasn't here to experience it, to give him that attaboy, because we know that they would have loved it.
Yeah.
You know, they would have loved it. And when my nephew hit 1,000 points for basketball, and it was like, yes, and we're like, oh, you know, and it's this tension. But as I like to say, the tension's where the music's made. If you don't have tension in the strings, you can't play the music. So I don't know how many heartstrings I have, but the tension is where creative expression has come forth. So, Don, this has been so good. I am now telling you at the end of every episode, if you want to hear more from these amazing people, then I need you to comment below. Tell us what you loved about these episodes. I'm trying to start creating a dialogue with you, the viewer. But the last thing I am now remembered that I wanted to discuss, you had a huge event recently that you got honored for.
Oh, yeah.
Can we end with what your accomplishments have done and what you got to be a part of?
It was the Franklin Community Wall of Excellence, and it recognizes people in the community. First of all, they started with graduates of Franklin High School or Hayden High School who have done something in their careers or in the community or whatever. And then I believe it expanded to people that maybe weren't born here, didn't go through the school system here, but had contributed to the community. So I got it under community service type of thing for my 43 years in public education, and then also was mentioned church work and community. I'm in the Rotary Club and things like that. So it was a huge, huge honor. And the icing on the cake, 3 of my children and 2 of my grandchildren got to come, but my wife's 2 brothers and sister-in-law came, and my brother came from New Jersey.
Amazing.
So, and then several of the teachers that heard about it also came to the banquet. So it was very nice.
And where was it held?
At the Workforce Development Center.
Okay.
And the board, Nancy Parrish was the person that nominated me.
Awesome.
And I really appreciate that. But we had worked together in PTA and stuff like that. So I've known Nancy and her family forever. But it's a really nice, it's small town.
Yes.
See, I don't know if in Virginia Beach they have an equivalent because
Totally.
it's so, but here, you know, I love it. Like people, when I was a principal, they'd say, I'd go to conferences and they'd be like, how can you be a principal in a town where you live? Because, and I said, it's great. I go to Walmart. I'm out raking in my yard and people are beeping and people are leaning out the window and say, hey, Mr. Spengeman. Now, the truth of reality hitting is when somebody comes up to you and they're in their mid to late 60s and they say, you were my teacher, or you were, and they go, do you remember me? And lots of times if they give me the first name, I can get the second name, and then it connects to who they are. But what a wonderful thing it is. And I've been in Lowe's and Walmart where people have asked me to come back out of retirement and work it, and I can't get up at 5:15 in the morning anymore.
That's how good he was. That's how renowned. And again, the training that you got at William and Mary from a psychology point of view, for you to have some medical background, I mean, all of the things that may have seemed like 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2, gave you such a well-rounded understanding to really basically keep everybody going. And I can just sense, why do people, he's a compassionate guy. He's not arrogant. He's not that alpha male type of temperament. And that can be a hard boss. That type of boss is hard, that a lot of people get. And Don was not that. And he was a friend to his colleagues. He wasn't their dictator or, would you say?
We were a family.
Yes, it was a family.
I was very, very fortunate. I worked with wonderful people, custodians, cafeteria workers, secretaries, aides, teachers, specialists. We were very, very fortunate, and we're still very close. When Sandy died, people that I hadn't seen in several years came, or when they knew she was sick, called and contacted. Small town USA has a lot of pluses, and anything we don't have, it's within an hour's drive.
That's right.
So,
and they're not the ones coming to knock on your door. At the end of the day, the things like he's saying, the malls, that's not a friend, and we're giving them their money. But what he's talking about is heart things. He impacted people to the point that when crisis came, they came to comfort him. And you may have not heard me say this, but part of really, I believe, the beginning understandings for this nonprofit was that people came to my house and started cutting my grass and doing things, and they said, if I would have passed, Ben would have done it for me. And I realized that his acts of kindness, whether that was because he was a pastor's son, I don't believe that was totally it, but they deposited some understandings and some principles inside of this man, that he was there for his friends. And he was a painter. He was a maintenance man. He was not too proud to do any of these basic, handyman jobs. And they came to comfort me and handle things because of it. So his acts of service paid it forward, and he wasn't doing it for me when he did it. Right. But the impact of his service or his help impacted me after. That is the core of what this Widow Walk is really here about, is to find these small towns. I am hopeful, and I'm still speaking this out, that there will be chapters over this country of widows checking on widows, widows looking out for each other. That is really the point of this for me, that I don't want anyone feeling left alone. And I'm thankful that Don is not saying that here today. But if you do not feel that you have community, if you are looking for something, we are meeting monthly. We're having a Christmas party on December 6th. You can go on our website, www.widowwalk.org. There's a little tag at the top of the website. You click on that. You can RSVP. We can only take about 50 of you. We're going to have it at Serve downtown on Saturday at 12 o'clock. We're going to have some fun. And there's things to look forward to. there's things to look forward to. Thank you, Don. Thank you for ending it. I'm so glad that we did this after this big celebration of your service. And I mean, that in a small town, every individual matters. And your impact is known and noticed.
Thank you.
And so thank you for your service. Thank you for loving your wife. Thank you for fighting for your kids and your grandkids. Thank you for still praying over your kids and your grandkids. We are only as good as these praying parents, y'all. And so we may be out living out whatever measure of success may be. These parents want us to exceed whatever they may have done, but I'm realizing that I saw something recently where a lady lost her dad, and she said he wasn't rich, but he was the richest man I knew. That's what community is, y'all. The wealth that he told us here today, that he had his kids stop their lives, some of them, to show up for his wife, is to let you know how deeply they love each other, respect each other, and care for each other. That is not a common story, as much as we'd like to say, with families doing that. So, thank you for watching. Like I said, if you want to hear from us again, you need to message us. You need to tell Don when you see him in Lowe's, when he's walking, his health, he walks every day.
Yeah.
Every day. I'm telling you, the widow walk, he's a widower walking. Wave to him, tell him you loved it. He needs some feedback too. All of this is good. He doesn't have his wife giving him that attaboy anymore. I need you to continue to do that. And look, the holidays are coming. Send some Christmas cards to the people that you know that are a widow or widower. Just do it, y'all. They cost 50 cents. It's worth it. Just send it to them, because you don't know sometimes when they wake up if it's going to be one of those low days. But that little 50-cent card can shift your attitude for days after. See you next time. Bye-bye.